Good afternoon, everyone. This is Jared Rayan, and welcome to the Global Guided Meditation Call for Monday, August 20, 2023, a little after 3:15 p.m. Eastern. Now, when we look at the speeded up process of the planet, and the transition from dark to light, you're going to see and experience things that you really haven't before. And many of these things are not real, but they appear real. And they appear so real that you pinch yourself and say, this is real. This is not something that is made up. We're experiencing this right now. We've got to do something about it. Now, when we focus on things, whether we're consciously aware of it or not, but as we focus on something, we create it. So if you're in a negative perspective and you're focusing on something that is not pleasant or not good, so to speak, even though it is an illusion or propaganda being forced out there to create more fear so that you focus on more fear, then what happens is you create it. And that sounds, to a lot of people, their minds cannot wrap around that because the mind is too small of a vessel to even comprehend that. So when you operate from the ego mind, it's dictating to you, and it'll dictate to you through the heart mind and make you believe, even if you think you are in the heart mind, it'll make you believe that you're in the heart mind, but you're not. Because when you're in the heart mind, you don't experience hatred. You don't experience anger. You don't experience fear, stress, frustration, anxiety. You don't experience any of those things. Zero. So that's actually a very dead giveaway to let you know that you're in the heart mind and not in the ego mind. And it's real tricky. And this is how this civilization has been tricked many times by the ego mind, to believe that there is some kind of a influence, so to speak, over us that's directing us into oblivion. And these are times, as the transition of the planet continues, these are times when this is when you go within. It's like anybody on this planet that goes within, that understands what their journey is about. And their journey is going within and discovering who and what they are in that body, and that they find out, that they're not the body. It's like if you look at a storm, or you look at a massive hurricane or something on the map, a weather map, animation, you go, wow, it looks like a powerful storm. Remember that the God that you are is all that there is, ever has been, ever will be, ever beyond, and forever. It's omnipotently powerful. So a mere hurricane is not a big deal. I know that sounds strange. We have dispelled hurricanes on this planet for a long time. And to dispel them that could have been catastrophic to the inhabitants of the planet and to all life. When you see fires, and you see more and more fires, you don't know if they're real. You don't know if the videos are real. You know, some of them are, maybe, by talking with people who are in the area where we have the fires. You remember, if you go through years and years back and you see the major forest fires out in California several decades ago, you go back and you will see major fires on the planet several decades ago. So don't believe that it is highly irregular because you're focusing on something that you're going to create. You cannot afford to have it where you say that it is coming from a source of negativity. So when you look at things like that, we have put out fires on this planet that could have just absolutely destroyed most of the foliage on the planet. We have put out fires on an ongoing basis. How do you do that? You increase the moisture in the atmosphere, the molecular structure. You will operate from the God that you are, not the human body. You operate from the God. And since you are all that there is, the God that you are, and it is all that you are, doesn't it make sense that you have the power and authority to end destructive forces? But not from an agitated point of view, from a point of view of ease of application. It's a matter of fact. It's not a doubt. You know, it's not questioning yourself. It's a matter of fact. Exactly what we're talking about. You focus on something purely, without interruption, by the ego mind. You do that by going into the now and focusing on the breath, listening to the breath and the space between heartbeats. This is where the ego mind does not exist. So it cannot influence you. So that's why you focus on the breath. And then all that stuff that we all have with ourselves disappears. Gone. As soon as you step back into yesterday or tomorrow, it's right back, like a snap of the fingers. So once you start configuring and understanding this, you say, well, there's no reason for me to go into yesterday or tomorrow. The only reason for me is to stay in the now. See, that's when you manifest things. No other place. You don't manifest it in the ego mind. That brings more frustration and disappointment. You have all of these things that work, and you focus through the God that you are, and it works. It will dispel the fires. It'll dispel them. How? Well, all of a sudden rain will come. The humanity will figure out eventually that it doesn't need weapons like HARP and all these other things that they employ on the planet, thinking that they're smarter than nature. And, you know, it's interesting. This planet has been around a whole lot longer than they could ever imagine, dealing with things like them. So when you see something that's disturbing, and you know and you sense that it is a negative, it is a low frequency, a low harmonics, and you dispel it with light magic. That's what bicamerals used to call it years and years and years ago, centuries ago, thousands of years ago. But it is an act of love for the planet and all life. So the fire can be tamed. It's a proven fact that fire can be tamed. When there's no oxygen in the atmosphere or around the fire cannot exist. It's gone. It's over. When there's too much moisture on that's coming down and around the fire cannot exist. It is extinguished. Cooler air, cooler water, cooler moisture coming in. And many of us have seen this on this planet for a very long time. When the lower dark matter, survival matter frequencies start playing around and start creating the beginning twines of havoc, you dispel it. We've dispelled more hurricanes on this planet in the last 10,000 years than they ever were able to make real or consistent. When you look at a hurricane, you look at the fact that, and you see this through your heart mind, because you're part of it. You're not separate from it. You're not separate from the fire. See, this is how the civilization has been manipulated. You're not separate from any of that. It doesn't mean you go jump in it and say, whirl around and say, okay, I'll put fire out. It means that you focus on the molecular structure of the fire, which is molecules that are agitated and heated up. So you dispel it. When you see a hurricane, if you know anything about hurricane, you could get a 101, evaluate a hurricane 101 course on the internet. And explain what a hurricane is. A hurricane is a mass of warm air that builds up in a lot of moisture with a low pressure. Okay? The difference between a low pressure and a high pressure is clear skies and cloudy skies. Low pressure brings in moisture, cloudy skies, rain. High pressure brings in a high pressure ridge, which means that the atmosphere, there's no clouds, there's no rain, it's dry. That's the difference between high pressure and low pressure. So with a hurricane, nature creates a low pressure system that then the warm waters, the low pressure system moves over the waters and then begins to feed a storm, builds. And it's due to the moisture and the warm air in the center of the hurricane, which at first there isn't one. So as it builds, it starts to form an eye, which is totally calm in that eye. Now, how do you destroy that? How do you dissipate it so it just becomes a whimper? You focus on the fact that you pull the upper atmospheric air, which is ice cold, I mean really cold. You pull it into the center eye of the hurricane, and it will dispel that hurricane. Immediately, it would blow it apart. And then you just have rain. Okay? And that's how we do it. One of us, two of us, three of us, it just depends. Without doubt, with full confidence, trust and faith in oneself and the universe, it's a done deal. Many people have done it. It's not like, oh, wow, look at that. You do it because you don't care to have people or any life harmed. So you dispel it. And with, the planet is, you think it's stable, but it isn't that stable. So that's why these storms pop up. Now, if you'll notice, the latest storm, which is on the West Coast, which is almost, it's like, that's a shot in the dark of ever happening on the West Coast. They've happened in the past, but not the magnitude. And see, on the West Coast, you'll see that it'll just be rain and high winds. That's it. You got to remember that the evil relishes in fear. And when it doesn't have really anything left, it plays the fear card. And if it can whip the people into a fear and a frenzy, and they focus on that, they'll create it. Hence, the dark moves forward. But when you look at it and say, you're not interested in that, period. I have no interest in it whatsoever. Then it fades away. It completely fades away. Without a question, without a doubt. So that's how you eliminate a hurricane. Doesn't matter how big it is. Doesn't matter how powerful it looks. You pull that cold air down, it's gone. It's done. It just turns into rain. We can also dispel it right out in the ocean. You could just bring the cold air down, eliminate the warm air that the water is feeding into it. And you kind of create a temperature inversion, which basically means that you stabilize cold air on a consistent basis in the vortex of that hurricane, and it never gets to be anything but a rainstorm. Fires, you create moisture. Moisture on this planet is everywhere, even in the desert. People just don't realize it. You see, you're drinking water that was consumed by life 1 billion years ago. So it's that the water can't leave the planet. And that's just it. So what the water that's here has been here a long time. So water extinguishes fire. Once you understand the elements and molecular structure, the molecular structure of fire is an agitated molecular structure where it causes combustion in the atmosphere. And as long as there's oxygen and friction, you can have fire. So what do? Well, you slow the molecules down so the fire goes out. Period. And then you bring rain in. Not a flooding rain, but a soaking rain. And the fire's gone. And a lot of the damage that could have been isn't. And so we work it from there. But anybody can do this. This is not something that... now, obviously, if you're asleep, you're not going to get to base one with it. But if you're somewhat aware and you focus on it, you don't spend a huge lot of time. You visualize and focus on the actual fire or hurricane, and then you inject in there what you want to have happen, and it dissipates. You leave it alone. Don't look at it again. Just boom, done. It's a matter of fact. It isn't difficult. It isn't hard. It's done on this planet on a daily basis. Same with earthquakes. Same with all kinds of things. Once you understand the alchemy, the molecular structure of all things, no matter what they may be, once you understand that, then you can detune them, so to speak. You can alleviate their energy. You can disperse it without damage or harm. And a lot of us don't think that way. Because we don't believe in ourselves. We don't have enough confidence in ourselves. We don't have enough faith in ourselves, nor the universe. A lot of us believe, because we're mired in the ego mind, oh, that's just all a bunch of fantasy stuff. That's not real. We don't have that kind of power. What are you talking about? And so, but we do. We always have. So what do you do with such a powerful species? You make it believe that it is not powerful. That it is insignificant, minuscule, powerless. And when you can get it to believe that, then you have slaves. But for any of us to ever believe that we do not have the power, because these bodies are part of Mother Nature. The gods aren't. Bodies are. That we view this from a perspective of release, surrender. You don't fight it, you surrender to it. Therefore, there's no friction. And then you focus on exactly what it is you want. What do you want with this storm? You want it to dissipate? Then dissipate it. You know, you want it to, there's also people that would like to see it grow. So you dissipate this, and it becomes nothing, really. We've been doing that with major storms coming out of South Africa for quite some time. They never even got a chance to build. That's why this hurricane season has so far been really nothing much at all. The only thing that these low frequencies could muster up is a disturbance on the West Coast. We've got the East Coast pretty much protected of this continent. So, you know, there isn't, you know, nature creates things not by happenstance, but by engineered. Collective consciousness engineered things. Do you want a bunch of people awake, or do you want a bunch of people asleep? Period. So you kind of make your choice. Put your intention out there. See what happens. But we have these abilities that we don't use. They're there, but we just don't use them. We just don't have any interest in using them. Because we don't know we have them. It's like you say, I don't care to have that be happening. Point your finger at it. Wave it around. You want to do any kind of movement with it. We've ended more blights of drought on this planet than you can shake a stick at. Increasing crop production is nothing. It's a drop in the bucket. Increasing food production is a drop in the bucket. You see the feebleness of the lower harmonic frequency. How has that been able to happen is because of the fact that we've been asleep for a long time. So when you have a species or a civilization that's asleep, pretty much can do anything you want without them even knowing what you're doing. And when you look at that, and you start waking up, you go, oh, wait a minute here. We're good to go. And a high vibrational frequency. Not a worrisome or looking over your shoulder and saying, what's next? That's how it literally works. There's civilizations that know this, so they don't have that friction going on their planet. It's not there. This civilization, is just now coming into the realization is just that, wait a minute, I'm not the body, I'm the God. The God is omnipotently powerful, supreme, immortal, and I never knew that, so how was I able to utilize the power that I am? You couldn't. Oh, maybe subconsciously, maybe on occasion, things would take place that you would say, well, that was God, which means the God outside of you. There's very few people who say, well, the God within me. You ever heard anybody say that? So we have this, it's a stigmatism. Near side, the far side, whatever. We don't see the big picture because we've had amnesia, we've been asleep so long that it just doesn't register. But they're just asleep. Things majorly different. you do. And we know that this universe has billions of ways to keep us humble and fascinated, all at the same time, like Pearson. People want to know, am I on the spiritual path? The signs that you have found your spiritual path are profound and obvious. The signs that you have found your spiritual path are profound and obvious. Each moment of your day is an adventure with the divine. It can't, you see, it because you are the divine. How can, each moment of your day not be? It's an adventure with the divine. We have the natural urge to sing the most wonderful song our heart is yearning to sing. We are completely free from worry and fear and live our life in complete devotion to love. We feel that we are truly cared for by the universe and constantly provided for and held in its loving embrace. We know that every day is an awakening. We will never grow old. We will just keep growing. Now, we have found our spiritual path when we know that our being is received by God with the greatest adoration and respect. We deeply honor humility and vulnerability, as it creates the receptivity needed to form the spiritual bridge that allows us to feel this intimate connection with the outer world instead of separation from it. Our spiritual path can only be found in one very special place and time. Our spiritual path can only be found in one very special place and time, in this very moment. This ordinary moment of life is unbounded with unlimited, outrageous potentiality. Whatever job, task, or typical daily boring action any of us are doing at any moment is actually overflowing with an extraordinary connection to unlimited power, love, life, and divine purpose. Now, the next question that will pop up is, how do you tap into it? It's good to know that a spiritual path is not a linear line that one walks from A to B, but rather behaves more like an ever-deepening inward spiral. It's a lifelong journey of diving deeper inside yourself toward the full opening of your consciousness and DNA to realize and crystallize your inner divinity. When we dive fully into this moment, leaving aside the incessant commentary of the analytical mind, we instantly discover something profound. The God Source has always been right here, right now. Divine intelligence is always available to any of us in every moment because of the Akashic information of the entire universe is coded inside the quantum field of our DNA. These essential secrets show us exactly how to access it. The first secret, discovery, to unlocking our spiritual path is accepting that our path to freedom is just as unique as our DNA. Everyone has their own special relationship with divinity. And this includes what essential elements they personally need to experience in order to open up fully to it. For instance, identical twins who are inseparable may live together, look the same, and even act the same. Yet when you get to know them intimately, you'll find they have a totally different relationship with God. There is no one like you in this universe. There is no one like you in this universe, and there will never exist someone who is exactly identical to you. Even though two people may have the same religion, same spiritual teacher, or same belief system, they cannot walk the exact same spiritual path together. This is because each person has a unique set of triggers, wounds, belief systems, and internal dialogue with this universe. Our spiritual path is like a fingerprint that's unique to us and remains supremely personal throughout our entire life's journey. It cannot be duplicated by replicating the patterns or behaviors of someone else's path, nor be destroyed by any external happening. It is an infinite inner journey of discovering how your most intimate possible relationship with God, in which you may get distracted and have to change physical bodies millions of times before you feel like you have arrived. This is why your soul is here. It wants to grow in consciousness, love, and freedom, and doesn't care how long the road takes to discover the ultimate bliss inside. Now let's take a deeper step inward to discover a more intimate connection with your spiritual nature right now. This powerful exercise, when practiced daily, will produce the most effortless physical manifestations and spiritual rewards you could ever imagine. Now let's start with relaxing your entire body right now. Scan your body from the top of your head all the way down to your toes. Bring a loving awareness to every body part that is holding on to some mental, emotional tension. Give yourself full permission to feel the tension and ask it to let go. Allow all your fears, anxieties, and worries in your life to be present for a moment. Then swing away and fade from your consciousness. This can take a few minutes to a few hours before you feel the majority of your tension is gone. Next, imagine your heart is a lotus flower that is opening up to the sun. Your heart is warming its petals in the golden sunshine, and the rays of light are penetrating and spreading throughout your entire body. Let in the feeling of the softest, most gentle, loving, healing energy that your imagination can fathom. Devote several long, slow, deep breaths to welcoming this sacred energy into your body. Spend ample time opening up your entire body to feel the softest, sweetest, most healing energy in this universe that you can imagine. It's a very deep internal process that requires an infinite amount of patience and curiosity. You'll need to practice being extra sensitive and vulnerable on your inner journey to discover the softest, healing, light energy inside of you. It takes a very deep listening and eternally patient listening in order to receive this gift. Those who are willing to wait forever for bliss to flood in are the fastest at receiving it. The deeper you can energetically let go of the most subtle tensions in your physical body, the easier it will become to relax the mind and bring it to stillness. The super soft, healing light energy is the foundation to help the mind and body feel safe enough to let go. As you sit or lay down while practicing relaxing your body, you will naturally begin to feel something inside you, receiving more of the super gentle light energy. Practice this for at least 48 minutes in a row every day. There will come a point when you'll feel your ego, small self-identity, is dissolving into the lightness. When this happens, give your whole heart and soul to this effervescent lightness, as if you were finally graduating from school. I am larger, better than I thought. I did not know I held so much goodness. All seems beautiful to me. Whoever denies me, it shall not trouble me. Whoever accepts me, he or she shall be blessed, and shall bless me. Walt Whitman. Whatever we focus on grows in energy and a moment. Whatever we focus on grows in energy and moment. As you surrender your entire being to this gentle light energy, this will create more sensations and waves of joy, peace, and sweetness that ripple throughout your life. You will be able to access deeper levels of this gentleness by choosing to become even more vulnerable and more sensitive. As you continue to relax inward, wherever you are all day long, practice listening closer and closer to your body. This sensitive listening skill is the key that opens the door to finding and feeling the divinity within you. The highly sensitive receptivity also forces the ego to surrender deeper and discover a more powerful, healing experience of merging with the soft, infinite light energy inside. The more often you practice this, the stronger the relationship becomes with letting in the lightness. It will get easier to find this energy anytime you need it throughout your day. Every day that you practice living from this light energy space will lead you closer to your ultimate destination, which is total freedom from the future suffering. When you push open the rusty door enough times, eventually the door remains open on its own. One day, you wake up from a dream and realize that the kingdom of God is available within you all the time. It simply takes your full devotion to surrender to this gentle spiritual essence inside your heart. The lightness is the first foundational practice to master in order to help release the ego from the small prison that it is in. We do not see things as they are. We see things as we are. We do not see things as they are. We see things as we are. Now, if you have tried for weeks or years to relax and still feel handicapped With this exploration, don't fret. When we cannot feel any sensations of peace in our hearts and cannot stay focused for full 3 seconds on this infinite source of gentleness, then it just means the system is clogged. You may need to cleanse out your pipes with a 36, 48-hour water fast that will reset the body and brain, clearing out a majority of toxins, blocking the energetic body. Just drink pure spring water. If possible, nothing else. And this will release a good portion of the agitation collected inside. After you've cleaned out a few pipes in your machine, just give yourself ample time to do nothing but relax and re-lubricate your connection with divinity. Your body-mind may immediately want to retoxify itself and return to its stuck, rusty, and defiant bad habits. If this occurs, try to stay on the water past 6 days or as long as you possibly can. The sensitivity needed to absorb this spiritual light of gentleness can take some time, and every human body is different. Some people just need 36 hours without eating any food. Others need 3 to 6 weeks before they feel the lightness flooding every cell and fiber of their being. Just trust and listen to your body. Know that whatever experience you're having is the right experience for this moment of your journey. Each life experience is pushing you deeper into clearing out the clutter of your mind, so you can often soften into the heart and find your spiritual path. Now this universe, it is always saying, allow me to flow through you unrestricted, and you will see the greatest magic you have ever seen. The next secret to walking your spiritual path comes from living in an expansive paradigm of consciousness that knows without a doubt that your soul is always on the right track and guided by the highest consciousness. The more sensitive your listening becomes, the more you can hear the spiritual guidance from within. Your soul came to this planet devoted to its spiritual mission. It will always align with its highest potential destiny, even if your mind ego doesn't believe it or feel it. Deep down within all atoms in this entire universe, the light is eternally shining and is guiding every atom with the highest intelligence. So we already are a powerful spiritual being who is forever connected with the God source. The mind ego has temporarily blinded us from seeing this truth, and this is part of the greater plan of waking up. The spiritual essence at our core is not hard to see. It is always here now. It is simply behind or beneath this next thought inside your mind. The God source is right here, right now, forever shining and quietly pulsating with this super soft, gentle, loving energy that feels a lot like healing sunlight. Touching this light inside you that is shining even while you're listening to what I'm sharing with you is simply a matter of releasing your ego's resistance to meeting with God. You will have a direct experience of your infinite spiritual nature when all of your masculine resistance has turned into feminine receptivity. And this gentle spiritual light energy inside your being is in essence pure consciousness. This consciousness, when revered with the most sacred understanding, is what will show you your life purpose and bring meaning, richness, and reverence. This purely conscious quality is always guiding your life toward a deeply eternal loving state of bliss, joy, and freedom. This pure, unaltered consciousness is your resting place, the only true place where you can relax and enjoy being human. This simple resting ground is your divine nature and the ultimate enjoyable experience in this life that everyone is seeking out there. Remember that wherever your heart is, there will find your treasure. Paulo Coelho, alchemist. Ultimately, in the end, we will see that we don't need any method, teaching, or spiritual person outside of ourselves to access our infinite spiritual nature. All that is needed is the deeper relaxation into the source of what you really already are. Your mind may try to decide when, where, and how it will happen, yet ultimately it is the deepest surrender of all your fears, worries, and worldly stresses to encounter the energy you'll need to make it your full priority to have an intimate connection with the divine. Just remember, at your deepest core, the spiritual essence of who you are is already awakened, conscious, bright, brilliant, powerful, and eternally free. You already are an infinite being, and your spiritual essence will live forever. You are already connected to the greatest source of divine love you can imagine. This place is a dream. Only a sleeper considers it real. Then death comes like dawn, and you wake up laughing at what you thought was your grief. Rumi. To join you in the meditation, I'll return to close us out. Take an easy and slow breath in through the nose. And an easy and slow breath out from the mouth. Remain still. Love is like a wild stallion. Drop your ideas about what love is. There is no need to cling to anything. Let go of these reins on love completely. Give this wild love all the space it needs to run, gallop, and truly be free. We love seeing your untamed love ride on. Take this with you for the rest of the day into the evening and night and the following morning. We will return here Monday, August 2-1, 2023, 3:15 p.m. Eastern to continue our global guided meditation call. Be gentle, kind, generous, and humble with yourself at all times. Be in the highest of the highest high, deepest of the deepest, deepest, eternal gratitude at all times, no matter what's going on around you, all the illusions, or within you.